Well, good morning, KOTA territory. Welcome to KOTA Now First Sip. Whether you're watching it on YouTube or Facebook, we're live here in the studio, kind of as an after show from Good Morning Black Hills, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah, this is our after hours show.
Yes. Well, with that in mind, I'm Humberto Iles Sanchez.
And I'm Mimi Herrick.
Well, it's nice to see that, some of our stuff this week was really nice. We had some really good topics, I think, from hiking, at least what we're talking today, right?
Yeah.
We went from Monday and Tuesday where we talked about, cooking in the kitchen with your children. And on Tuesday, we talked Tuesday. I keep thinking yesterday was Tuesday, even though yesterday was Wednesday. But on Tuesday, we also talked about, what was it?
I forgot.
Jeez.
We come up with these every day,
Yes.
so there's definitely a lot floating around in my brain, and I'm even cooking up some fun stuff for tomorrow right now.
Exciting. Be prepared. You better prepare your
Everyone watch.
trivia.
So fun.
Yes. We teased at the end of Good Morning Black Hills, prepare for your trivia.
Yes.
But
today we're talking hikes and we're talking AI. So I guess let's start with hikes because we've got these beautiful pictures behind us. So hiking is really beneficial for you. We kind of talked about it in Good Morning Black Hills. Exercise, stronger muscles and bones, improves balance, heart health, decreased risk of respiratory problems, but that's not the only health benefits. There's also some mental health benefits, Humberto.
No, exactly. Some of those mental health benefits called reduce, you reduce the risk of depression, anxiety, and stress. And that's according to Stanford Health. So kind of talking a little bit about those, it is 100%. I mean, as someone who's an avid hiker, right? And I believe you also mentioned that you like to go out and kind of hike
Especially
around
in
and
the
backpack.
summer.
Yes. I mean, if you go out a lot, I mean, you can 100% feel, you get a little bit more calm. Not saying it's for everyone, of course, but sometimes you do get a little bit more calm, and you can definitely see it as anecdotal, at least for me, anecdotal evidence.
Oh, totally.
I definitely can feel that for myself as someone who does have kind of suffers from some of those things.
Yeah, for sure. And, I think another really fun part about hiking for me, and I know you're not supposed to go alone, but like a short hike by yourself, at least for me, is always a really good way to clear my head. Especially over the summer when I was working and my weekends were Sunday, Monday instead of Saturday, Sunday. Mondays, I would dedicate the day to just hiking by myself, and it was so peaceful.
No, exactly. And you can also just enjoy the nice birds singing and just nice silence.
The sounds of nature.
You're to yourself. And again, that helps reduce, kind of anxiety, stress, and depression. But along with that, if you are not, very inclined to go by yourself, maybe you're bringing a friend. But this is also very, very helpful because not only does hiking with a partner or friend or whoever it is, a group, individuals, doesn't matter, it helps build that bond between you and them. Reason being, it's unplugged quality time. You're spending more time with them off of your technological device.
Yeah, especially because a lot of places here that you can hike don't have cell service. It's a nice way to unplug with people. So if you want to get an unplugged moment, but you don't want to be alone necessarily, you can always go out hike with a friend somewhere where there's not a whole lot of cell service.
Exactly. And
forces you to unplug.
Right, exactly. And you know what? The best part about hiking, especially in the Black Hills, is that quite literally you are not that far away from a trail. I mean, in Rapid City, you have M Hill. Even if you go out to Sturgis, you have the Sturgis Dam. And stuff like that is very, it's not as far away. You can be in Deadwood, you can find some trails there. Mickelson. If you go to Spearfish, you can find some trails there. Quite literally, if you go to Wall, you got the Badlands and stuff like that. So in KOTA territory, the Black Hills, there's so much that you can explore around here, and I think that is the best part. And even in our viewing area in Wyoming, Devil's Tower.
Yeah.
It's quite literally everywhere around here. And if you love the outdoors, well, I don't blame you, because around here there's some picture perfect stuff going on.
Yeah, for sure. And going into some quick tips before we throw out some of our own personal favorite hikes. Bring more than enough water and snacks. You don't want to be caught in a situation where you don't have enough. I personally am a big fan of two 40-ounce bottles if you have them. If you don't, just a couple bottles of water, just so you have more than enough. And then snacks, also like bars, Cliff Bars. I'm trying to think of what else. Gatorade chews can be
trail
good
mix
too. Trail mix.
Trail mix without a lot of the time there's a big misconception is that you shouldn't necessarily have anything sweet in your trail mix. It's good to have some sweet stuff in there as long as it's not artificial sweet sweets.
Yeah, so like fruit. Yeah.
Yes. So you want to make sure that your trail mix has a lot of fruit in it, a lot of dried fruit. That's very helpful, gives you energy. Usually you want to avoid the ones that have just like the chocolate chips, the peanut butter chips and stuff like that.
Even though those are my favorite.
Yes. The M&Ms and stuff like that. You want to try to avoid those, even though those are good. But hey, maybe bring one of those, and maybe just bring one that's just dedicated to kind of dried fruit.
Yeah, totally. And then the
both.
last sort of tip is always wear your sunscreen. You don't want to, have that sun exposure damage your skin and lead to bad things.
And it's funny because I mentioned it on Good Morning Black Hills. We have a board certified dermatologist, Dr. Alicia Thornburg, who comes on every 2 weeks to Good Morning Black Hills to talk about some skin care, tips. And one thing that we always talk about, wear sunscreen. Yes, because it not only helps your skin, but it also helps you stay healthy and avoid some unnecessary health-related problems in case further down the line that can occur further down the line. Yep. But kind of talk a little bit about
some of the hikes we love. Let's jump right into it. This picture I took actually at Buzzard's Roost. That's one of my favorites. That one for me is a little bit more challenging because of those switchback uphill that it has. But even then, it still feels really refreshing to get outside then, as long as you're not like going when it's the beating sun, like 90-degree summer. And
sorry, I have to get my phone out here, but I go out to Pactola a lot, and a lot of the time, and unfortunately I didn't put one of the pictures here. I'm looking at it right here. I'll pull it up to see if we can find it there. We can see that if you could. Sorry.
Here,
I was like, I'll put it up. Let's see if we can zoom into it.
All right, yeah, no, those are.
There we go. So you can see that's near Pactola, and I go out there a lot. It's very nice.
Gorgeous.
And every time I go out there, there's something different. That last time I went out there, I showed you a picture before we even started. Was of a chipmunk, and you get to see wildlife out there that come near you. Sometimes if they're not afraid, I would also.
You feel like Snow White out in the wilderness.
Yes, but I will say if they do come out there, just don't feed them.
Yeah.
Make sure to not try to just look at them. Don't necessarily interact with them if they do come up to you, because it's not your place to mess with nature. Just be out there, look at them, enjoy from afar if you can, and if they come up to you, just maybe wave at them a little bit, and if they get scared, let them run away. Don't chase them.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's the big thing. Do not feed them, since that is very much don't want to ruin their natural diet.
Yeah, and another one that I don't always see mentioned in these top 10 lists like we have in front of us here is the Creek Caves Trail in Black Hills National Forest. I love that one. Easy, short, cool caves, fun river crossing. I have tons of pictures of me and some of my friends kind of hopping between the rocks because they're aesthetic and cute or whatever, but it's really peaceful, especially if you're out there by yourself. But I've seen people bring their kids down there who want to play in the creek, so there's nothing wrong with getting out, especially in the summer, and cooling off in some of the creeks on the trails around here.
My favorite one is Sturgis Dam. It's a nice little hike to the Sturgis Dam. It's very nice, pretty there, especially during the spring when stuff is blooming. I will watch out though. There is warning. I will watch out if you make your way down there to the Sturgis Dam. Be cautious of snakes. There are some snakes down there, so if you hear a rattle, just turn the other way and walk.
I don't like snakes.
Because there's a lot of long grass, so you want to make sure you watch out for that if you do end up going down there. I know that the first time I went down there.
Did you see a snake?
I heard it. I did not see it. I heard it, and then my girlfriend saw the snake, and I was like, "Well, it's a good thing I didn't see it, because I would have been curious." And, where's it at?
You're way braver than I am.
But kind of talking a little bit, you mentioned the top 10 list here. This comes from Visit Rapid City, and these, I looked at some of the top 10 lists, and some of the best kind of hiking that you could do around the area. You got the most popular one that you always hear about, Black Elk Peak. You got Sunday Gulch again, and then they put an asterisk down here because it is important to remember that Sunday Gulch Trail will be closed for trail improvements. It closed September of last year, and it is still closed to be. It's set to be open at some point this year's spring.
I would guess probably in May sometime is usually when they open up those trails that are under maintenance.
I would look up the dates to see. Keep updated if you do want to go to Sunday Gulch before you head out there.
Forest Service website, they have all of the trail openings and stuff like that if you're looking for a good resource online.
And then you also got Little Devil's Tower Trail, you got Devil's Bathtub, Crow Peak, which is a nice one, Lover's Leap, which is a really cool one. I've been there myself. It was really nice. It's a nice little short one.
Oh, this is one of your pictures. Where's this from?
That's a good question. I have to look it up. this might be.
Because I love these rock
man,
formations
where was this
here
at?
behind us. They're gorgeous.
I always forget, and every time I tend to not take a lot of pictures, and there's like a lot. See, like even this one, this was in Sturgis.
Oh,
Sturgis,
awesome.
and it's like an abandoned house. That was really cool.
I love the ones.
Here. Sorry, there you go. Look at that.
I love the ones with like the old abandoned buildings.
Yeah,
I think those are fun to explore.
and then
If
I
you
go
are
to
gonna
the
do those, be careful.
Exactly. Yeah. No. Please. And now I also go to the Badlands a lot. And, every now and then I take a trip down to Pine Ridge, and on the way there I stop and take some good pictures. This one was in 2023.
I'll let you keep looking for those.
But anyways, if you want to continue.
I'll keep reading here.
Yeah,
So
while
we've
I
got
find
Lover's
this.
Leap, Cathedral Spires. That's a pretty short one. Buzzard's Roost, where the picture before this one was from. Flume Trail. I love that one. I do the Upper Spring Creek Flume Trail loop. And that one is super fun because it's like a shorter version of the Flume Trail, and there's lots of creek crossings. You go by Sheridan Lake. It's a lot of fun, and the best part is the tunnels. I love the tunnels. They're a lot of fun, especially because they're so historic. I'm a little claustrophobic in them, and it's a little weird if you don't have like a little bit of a flashlight. So definitely if you're going during the day for just like a little day hike to explore, bring your phone and make sure it's charged so you can use your flashlight in the tunnels, because for me, it was a little scary.
Well,
and then
you
our
wanna know
final one
something?
is Stratable Rim.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I had to cut you off.
Oh, you're good.
Stratable Rim is actually a really short one that you can take. It's like
1.5-ish.
Yes, it's really short and really easy. It's if you just have some time off and don't really want to like dedicate it for a while, like dedicate a good hike, then I would go to that one. But I also found where this picture's from. This is actually from the Flume Trail.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's by
I didn't even recognize this.
No, I didn't either.
Is this during like the winter maybe or fall?
It's actually during the, let's see when I took it real quick. But it's actually, I want to say it's during the spring.
Okay.
This was taken April 4th last year.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's gorgeous.
But yeah, no, and this is actually in spring, that's Spring Creek. So stuff wasn't necessarily coming in, and stuff was actually starting to bloom and whatnot. But it
looks way different than when I went.
Yeah, actually, I was like
have a
shocked.
photo, I think, of like the same picture, but it's so much more green. I'm not even, I'm not going to try and look for it.
There's so many pictures we can go through.
We're getting distracted talking about how much we love hiking.
Exactly.
Let's jump right into the AI stuff that we talked about yesterday. So we're talking about how AI is pretty rampant on social media and on the internet in general. I think one of the best ways that you can kind of keep your eyes out is we talked about that SIFT technique that I have here, which stands for stop, investigate the source, find better coverage, and trace the original source. So that's how you can really find a lot of, AI stuff on there. Particularly for images, it can be a little easier to spot. I think AI images tend to have strange lines that don't connect, weird distortions, blurred facial features, or like things that don't make sense. I know in one of our examples yesterday, one of the women in that screenshot from Facebook had like 7 fingers. So just keep a close eye out for that, especially, I've seen AI in art, in sort of drawing things. Those are like lines that connect to nowhere, vines and trees and plants that are growing out of thin air. Just inconsistencies that a normal human person wouldn't necessarily draw.
And a lot of the time, I know you mentioned the blurriness, a lot of the time, most of these AI pictures will be hyper-focused on one thing in the picture, whether that is the generated person in that picture or whether it is a generated item in that picture. It's usually hyper-focused on there, and it has like really blurry background. And you can usually tell because the item or the person looks it looks misplaced. And like you mentioned, there's also other ways, like you said, the fingers, the limbs. Also, sometimes the eyelids, the eyes can have some weird effects to them.
And especially in the background too, again, things will just connect to things that they shouldn't be. It won't make sense. The scary thing with AI images though is as we progress and these models get more and more data of people generating more and more things, and importing more and more pictures to it, they will get better and it will get harder to spot. So we will try and keep you updated with the best techniques to, make sure that you're keeping up to date with the correct information. But one thing that I would do if you really can't tell if this is a really good looking image and it looks very legit, Google image search it, and you can find the original source that way. Oftentimes if you see that image come up like a bunch, that means it's probably AI. And if it's like a reverse image search and it's a real picture, it'll probably come up with the original post on social media or news organization's website.
And I'll tell you right now, you know, there are some tools out there that you can use to kind of help you spot these generated images from generate AI images. One of you know, you got CopyLeaks, GPT-0, Originality.ai, Scriber, I believe that's how it's pronounced, and Grammarly even has those, especially when it comes to text, which you can kind of tell. But then another thing is, you know, one of the bigger kind of, I guess, I want to say examples of recent pictures that kind of went viral for being AI was kind of the geodes.
Oh, yes, I saw that.
So again, like I said, it's very content overly detailed when it comes to something like that. And if it becomes, you know, if you end up seeing a picture and it's supposed to sell a product, if the product price seems too good to be true, it is too good to be true, and that item that you are looking at is probably AI generated, and you're not going to get the product that you are seeing in that picture.
Yeah, a good rule of thumb is honestly just don't buy anything from social media ads. I think that would be a great way to start avoiding that. And then, you know, when you are on websites like e-commerce websites like Amazon, Shein, Temu, stuff like that, just again, the reverse Google image search is great. Even Etsy nowadays has a lot of AI generated stuff. And just be very careful when buying things from either social media or e-commerce sites. Do your research before you put your money into something that's going to be a little disappointing.
No, exactly. And unfortunately nowadays it's very, like you mentioned earlier before we started talking about it, it's very easy for this to spread with the amount and how easy it is for you to actually generate an image, an AI image nowadays. So, you know, we hope that this kind of helped you a little bit. Make sure that, you know, you're on the look for AI generated images, whether it is an item that you want to buy or whether it is a picture that's being, you know, kind of posted and reposted around. Make sure to double check the sources for it. And also, something that really gets, you know, before we wrap up here, something that gets like kind of not talked about as much is check the account that image is coming from. That's a good indicator.
That's a great,
it's a good indicator if that image is AI generated or if that image is fake. But with that being said, we hope this helped you a little bit today, you know, whether it's hiking out in the Black Hills, Badlands, or wherever you're hiking. We hope this helps you out a little bit. And also, we hope that, you know, some of the tips that we gave you here to kind of spot AI helps you out, kind of be safe out there on the internet.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
With that being said, I'm Humberto de Sanchez.
I'm Mimi Herrick.
Have a good one.
We'll see you on Tuesday.